What's up, everybody? What's up? Welcome back to On the Warpath. It's your boy Sanchez 405 with you. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button. Hit the bell so you get notifications anytime there's new content posted. And as always, like, comment, share this video out because y'all know what we do here. We talk about the Washington Commanders all the time. It's week 2. We put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the rearview mirror, and now it is Smurf week. It's Blue People week. It's the Blue Man Group. It's Daniel Jones week. It's the New York Football Giants come a calling to Northwest Stadium, 1 o'clock on Fox. So I thought it would be good if we had a blue person professional, a Smurf professional, to come on here and talk about his New York Football Giants. And I had to bring in my guy from Big Blue in the Bronx, Alex, on here. We're gonna introduce him. What's up, Alex? How you feeling, brother?
Well, I feel a lot better as a Giants fan with some higher expectations on the season, but we are playing Washington this week. Normally I would feel a little bit happier in the past because, one thing the Giants do well is they beat up on Washington. But with that said, I believe, as a franchise, we're at two different stages with Washington as the better franchise in their stage right now. I know that's going to shock a lot of people, but when you've been a Giants fan for a few years and you've seen the same story multiple times, that's just the way you feel.
Yeah, we love to see it. I like to see this stress on your face. I know you're calm, cool, and collected when it comes to your football team, but yeah, it's been rough. And it always seems like we're the get right game for you all. I think of last year we beat up on Tommy DeVito. The mob must have came down here and broke a couple of our kneecaps, and we knocked them down 9 times. How many times have you seen a quarterback get knocked down 9 times, throw no interceptions, and 3 touchdowns in a win? Undrafted rookie at that, and the legend was born at FedEx Field last year. And then, I look at the previous year too. Well, in that same year too, 14-7, we had an ugly game. Tyrod Taylor came in there and got was that the first win of the season for y'all, or the second win of the season
I
last
want to
year?
say it was the second win of the season. Our first win of the season was in Arizona.
Comeback. Yeah, y'all came back on the Cardinals. And then I remember out there in freezing cold, chance to go to the playoffs on Sunday night. People blame the officials. I don't blame the officials. I think we gave that game away in the first quarter. So, it's been sometimes with the Giants. But if y'all go to the Super Bowl, it seems like we beat you. Like this season, I think of 2011 when we swept you. And then we kind of put y'all on ice skates back in 07, but we kind of got you on the right ship then. So it's a history. And I don't think between our two fan bases, I don't think we don't like each other, but we don't hate each other. We hate Philadelphia. We hate Dallas. I think mutual. We just don't like each other. That's more what I say. I despise those two. What says you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a ridiculous amount of hate between the two franchises, the two fan bases, because, well, let's be completely honest, Corey, both of our teams really haven't been legitimately good the last few years. So
Mm-mm.
we've been just kind of fighting for the bottom of the NFC East. And it's like the two little brothers fighting, and then you got the two big brothers, they're fighting over their pot of gold at the top of the division. So no, I don't hate Washington fans. I don't. For me, it's not even in the same class as Dallas fans, and especially Eagle fans. I think Eagle
Ooh.
fans are a little bit more outrageous. But I think it also, yeah, comes down to the fact that we have not been good, each of our teams, the last few years.
And you all back in 2022, you flipped the switch, moved on from Joe Judge Jr. Judy, and y'all brought in new general manager, brought in Joe Shane, brought in Brian Dayball, went to the playoffs, had a setback. Um, how are you feeling year 3 with this administration, and is this do or die for them coming into 2024?
I don't feel any good right now. I think as we get closer and as this team, looks because I'm gonna be honest with you, Corey. I know it's gonna be like a deflating thing here.
Mhm.
Uh, Washington, a win against Washington on Sunday does not change the season for me because that's something we always do. And when you draft Malik Neighbors and you make all these adjustments, you're expected to win. You're expected to be competitive, and the way they looked against Sam Darnold last Sunday was completely deflating. You got players talking out of their rear, talking about the fans booing or they're avoiding questions. It's just not a good state for the locker room right now. And if you asked me, who's done a better job at what they've been doing, I would say Brian Dable's done a better job coaching than Joe Shane has putting the ingredients on the field.
Mhm.
We're talking about a guy who has had 3 draft classes. He's maxed out the credit card in each set of free agency, 22, 23, 24. He has not been good, and our last general manager was not good either. But I think Gettleman's drafts were slightly better, but it's still not good to be in that category after year 3. And again, usually you would say, okay, 3 years for a team, you expect, okay, multiple first round picks, a lot of money in free agency. You think they'd be contender in year 3. I think that playoff win was one of the worst things that happened to the Giants because it was such a false sense of reality. And one of my biggest things, that's why I was actually rooting for you guys last year against the Giants, that second game with Tommy DeVito as the quarterback. Um, I wanted a quarterback badly. It was for me, it was Jaden Daniels, anyone except for maybe like Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, they were never going to get their hands on it. And, I said it when they fired the defensive coordinator and Wink Martindale, who I loved. He had some behavior issues coming out of the building, but Dable, trust me, he did not treat Wink with respect either. I said, you need to sell me on something for the 24 season to look forward to. They tried reselling us the bag on Daniel Jones. They tried selling us the bag on a defensive coordinator who was mid at best in Tennessee, and his scheme is very much the opposite and lacks creativity when it compared to Wink Martindale's. And I don't know how many wins this team's going to really be able to carve out. And if Brian Dable does get fired at the end of the season, Joe Shane should go pack his bags with him because there is no way that Shane should get another head coaching opportunity. Shane should not have another opportunity to hire a head coach if Dable is fired. He also has no right to pick the quarterback because at the end of the day, you had 2 years to pick a quarterback and you didn't.
Yeah, and I think about Shane, and I kind of lost it for him watching the Hard Knocks, and I said if I'm a Giants fan, I'm embarrassed just of his behavior, and we know that it's reality TV, and they can frame it in a way that maybe makes people look a certain way that they're not. But he just came off as aloof, and he came off as weak. In a way, he came off incompetent. I mean, your driving force on offense has always been Saquon Barkley, whether he's healthy or not, and not to give him a competitive deal. I was just like, what were you doing? And just John Mayer comes in there. And he's like, I won't be able to sleep well at night if Saquon goes to the Eagles. I guess he hadn't slept since then. But what were your thoughts on that? Like when you watched that, did you watch it with like intent, or did you just shake your head throughout the whole thing and was like, God, this guy's running my team?
So it was like a huge ball mixture of emotions. When they all came out and said the Giants are going to be that offseason Hard Knocks team,
Mhm.
I was like, this is going to lack so much flavor. And I'm like, this is just not going to be interesting. That's my personal opinion. Now we get to actually in the summer viewing Hard Knocks that entire period, and I'm like, you know, I didn't want Saquon Barkley back because I feel you got to get a rookie quarterback. They did not do that.
Mhm.
And you got to upgrade the O line and you got to put money in different areas. And it's not you can't be paying a star running back when you got other guys in their prime, but also at the same time, like your team is not ready to compete. I think a lot of Giants fans saw that. And so that's what I saw. And then I also thought that Joe Shane didn't handle the situation correctly because at the end of the day, he's talking about how, he had this handshake deal with Saquon Barkley that he's got to go figure out his market and come back. And I'm thinking to myself, Saquon Barkley, I disagree with some of the things that were in Hard Knocks and all these other, different things, and maybe some of his stuff on the media. Um, but at the end of the day, he was the driving force of the Giants for the last few years. When Odell left, Saquon Barkley was one of the reasons that the Giants fans bought tickets. He was one of the biggest reasons that they went to the playoffs in 2022. He doesn't owe you a single thing, because if Saquon Barkley wasn't a Giant in 22, your team probably does not make the playoffs, and you're pretty much in a rabbit's hole again. I just thought he came off as a little arrogant. And, now sitting here on September 11th after week 1, and after, putting all this in a vacuum, he looks extremely stupid. John Mara looks right for some reasons. You're letting Saquon go to the Eagles. And of course, it's going to be on a bigger microscope now that the Giants suck. If they won week 1, nobody cares about the Saquon Barkley thing. But now, besides the Barkley thing, our backfield looks terrible. Now, I will say this, and I'm pretty sure it might be a topic or whatever down the line. The offensive line, I know they gave up 5 sacks. I will tell you that maybe one of them was on the offensive line. The four of them on Daniel Jones. They couldn't run block, but that's also an issue of Brian Dable trying to use Devin Singletary as a cowbell, which he's never been in his
Right.
career. And we know Daniel Jones can't throw 40, 50 times a game. He is not Josh Allen. So I think the Giants need a veteran back, but they miss Saquon Barkley. So that whole Hard Knocks thing was a complete circus. Joe Shane made himself look like a fool and came off as extremely arrogant. And I also thought, I have a meme of Brian Dable's face when he's looking at Joe Shane. And Joe Shane's literally saying, he's talking to Mara, he's talking to Dable about the plan, about the draft. He goes, yeah, okay, so it looks like we're going to run it back with Daniel Jones. And Brian Dable's just sitting there like he can't believe it. So I think Joe Shane thinks he's smarter than everyone else is because of the nuance and, all that stuff from Buffalo.
Yeah, like I said, I was the big fan of him in that respect. Dayball moved back. Now, did he call the plays in 2022? Because I know he took back the play calling for this year. Is this his first time taking over the play calling in with Big Blue, or is this the second time?
So 2022 was entirely controlled by Mike Kafka.
Okay.
There were theories, unproven a little bit, but there were theories that he took back the play calling in some games, like against Arizona in the second half. Again, that was one of the games that those theories came out. But this is the first time he's done the play calling in the officially for the New York Football Giants, while Mike Kafka sits there and counts change.
My goodness. And so yeah, you get kind of focus on last week's opponent a little bit. Y'all played the Minnesota Vikings. Welcome back Sam Darnold to MetLife Stadium. And I thought we saw and you probably heard all the jokes right there. The Michigan Canadians, as I like to call them, in y'all's 100th season. So before you get in that game, what did you think about them throwbacks? Like I was just like, wow. I said,
When it wasn't even like an NFL, like a Adam Schefter or Mike Garafolo. There was like one of those NFL rumor pages that came
yeah.
out and said that was the design. I remember that, and I'm like, if this is true, please don't let it be true. And then they come out with a design which was complete and utter nonsense. And I'm like, ew, number one. And I heard from multiple people, and even in my own experience, even though I was, offered to go to the game, I didn't go for multiple reasons, better decision on me, that even people at the stadium couldn't even tell you if Darius Slayton was Bryce Ford Wheaton, it's 86 and 88. They couldn't
Oh
tell the
my
numbers
gosh.
on the back because the uniforms looked so bad. And then, of course, the cherry on top being that they totally embarrassed themselves in front of legends and their families. And I don't know if you heard this, Corey. Carl Banks and Bob Papa, the radio people for the New York Football Giants, they have a show on Believe Podcast Network. And at halftime, Carl Banks said this, that he was in the tunnel or he was on the field with Lawrence Taylor. And Lawrence Taylor said, you know what? I bet 22 of us could play better than these guys on
Oh
the field
my
right now.
gosh.
I
Oh
said,
wow.
just show me where the lie is, please.
Well, as somebody who's seen his team get embarrassed in front of legends and embarrassing uniforms, the All Blacks, I know how you feel there. Carl Banks, I have a history of Carl Banks. So it's kind of funny when we played you all in 2021. I heckled him a lot while he was on the air, and I think
Wow.
I got under his skin a little bit. Bob Papa, I did not. Bob's a consummate pro, and I said, "You guys are." I said, "You guys are what are you doing up there, Carl?" I said, "Carl, we're gonna beat you guys." And he wears those clear glasses and
Yeah,
everything.
the
And I
big ones.
said, "Man," I said, "Why do you?" I said, "Carl, why are you up there wearing your daughter's glasses and everything like that?" And he's like, "I'm like, yeah." I said, "I'm still talking." And then we walk out. I said, "Carl, we beat you." I said, "Technicality, but we still beat you." So I always like getting it. I called Tony Baselli an illegitimate Hall of Famer when we played the Bucks one time, and the Arizona people were pretty cool. But yeah, so that's my Carl Banks story. But I looked at it and I kind of watched a little bit of you all, and then I said, because I thought the Giants were going to play a little bit better than what they had shown. You guys got Van Ginkel on the pick six and everything, and uh, like you said, Jones was going back too many times. I think it was like 42 dropbacks he had, or pass attempts. Excuse me, he had 42 pass attempts there. Um, what like what went wrong? What went wrong on Sunday? Just I mean, or what things? Yeah. What things went wrong for you guys against the against the Vikings?
So real quickly to add on to the little Carl Banks thing, you know what's funny
Uh
is that Bob Papa didn't get. You were explaining your little
huh.
taunting story.
Yeah.
Bob Papa apparently always complains about how small the booth is in Washington D.C. from where they sit or whatever. So I'm surprised that he didn't take issue with it. I've met Carl Banks actually. I met him once, and he's a very nice guy. I mean, of course, I was a little nervous because it's like me meeting Carl Banks. Um, Also, by the way, shouts to Bill and everybody else in the chat. Of course, he knew the Banks story was incoming. He knew it. Um, Daniel Jones. What happened that he looked so bad on Sunday? Well, um, starting in first of all, I don't think this is the first performance he's actually looked like this. I would go back to last year's Raider game. Now, why do I go back to last year's Raider game? Because Daniel Jones obviously started off last season on a complete stinker, a number of stinkers. He gets injured by Andrew Van Ginkel on the Dolphins, and it's a neck injury. And then after Terod gets hurt, they bring him in. I believe it may have been the next week or the week after, and he still has a little bit of the neck injury. You could see it, and he also tears his ACL against the Raiders that poo-poo his season. So in training camp, he had a very mixed bag. I was there for pretty much all the practices in the stands and videotaping and whatnot. And then there were certain people that, were saying, oh, Daniel's having a great camp. And I'm like, you don't know what you're watching because when Tommy DeVito is the most consistent quarterback in camp, there is a huge problem. The Giants did not give DeVito or Locke first team reps at all. So we go to the Texans game where it's his first game action since the ACL. He throws a pick six, which is a complete kindergarten play. And then he throws another pick downfield trying to get to Jalen Hyatt. And then the people trying to defend him were like, it's the rust. Daniel's coming off the ACL, all these built in excuses. And then you see the same performance on Sunday. He is shot. His confidence is shot. He is shot as a QB. There is no excuse for the way he's playing. There's no excuse for the way the Giants handled the quarterback situation. I mean, I'm talking about not just, not going deep. I think Brian Dable's handcuffed by Daniel Jones. The fact that he's missing these short comeback routes that people who break down the film, they're watching this, they're showing it on Twitter, and everybody is pretty much doing this, the face palm. It is a mess. it is a mess at quarterback. And again, the Giants didn't want to create controversy and get a better backup or someone they could ride on for the future, like a Spencer Rattler or like a late round pick. They decided to go this route, and because it's so fair to Daniel to give him a team around him, but it's not fair to everybody else to give him a garbage, pretty much worn out quarterback. And when your quarterback has no confidence, guess what? No one
Mhm.
else is going to have confidence in him. So he needs to wake up. I think the way history goes about it, he does well against Washington. He's probably going to find some stride. And then every Giant fan that's positive or in the middle is going to get hyped. And then we're going to get prepared for disappointment while I'm in Cleveland, Ohio next week.
Bill asked a good question. He says Pugh has said on his show that Washington, New Orleans have the worst facilities. NO is putting millions into a revamp. Washington, Corey, is Washington going for a revamp or a new stadium? Just curious. They are. I know they're working on things at now Northwest Stadium. That they've put some investments there. The new ownership group has. Of course, they're still looking for a stadium. Um, People want it at the old RFK site. But I think the path of least resistance, according to a lot of folks in the media here, would probably be building on the FedEx field site because they own that land already. So that might be an easier buy and a bet for them. But yeah, and they are looking to revamp that because remember, Bill, we didn't have a human being running us for 25 years. We had a we had a devil. So Papa is not the only one complaining. Is all. Oh yeah, I see. But I appreciate you all for giving me that fire. So when I see Bob Papa on Sunday, I want to say, Bob, how do you like booths that are the same size as you? So little booth for a little man. So I'm just y'all got me hyped already to do this. So I personally, this is how petty I am. I got my when I go, I get my tickets where I can walk right under the visiting radio booth. So that's how petty I am. So I just I have to, but um, yeah, so we talk about Daniel Jones, man, and I mean there have been I've seen him in person 3 times. I saw him in 19. Well, I've seen him twice in person. Seen him in 19. I've seen him in 2021, and both times he played uh, pretty damn good games against the Burgundy and Gold. I think he threw 5 touchdowns in a win that went to overtime. And then I remember he had like 95 yards in 2021 on the ground against us. And Graham Gano had 5 field goals in that win too, in that loss that ended on technicality on the field goal. But outside of Daniel Jones tearing us up, who do we need to look at We'll start offensively. Who do we need to look at as Washington and be like, outside of Malik Neighbors? Because, and that's another thing. I hate cutting my question off, but Malik Neighbors, in just how if you read between the lines, he's not impressed with Daniel Jones, like in the least. I was just blown away by, I guess, his bluntness to the whole thing, man. Is that, I mean, you got to rookie. I appreciate his honesty. I don't know how you all feel about that in New York, but just talk about how how he's came on, how Malik Neighbors has came on, and just that relationship or lack thereof between him and Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously is a contrast from the preseason and the camp where he was getting every single ball. To be honest, I don't blame him. I know he's a rookie. You got to make your own. There's some games you're not going to get any targets, but this is what happens. I didn't see like every single mistake that Daniel Jones made when it came to the All 22. I thought um, Malik Neighbors, with what he had, he did a very good job. He had 5 catches for 66 yards. He's still on pace for over 1,000. But at the end of the day, like it kind of breaks this Giants narrative that they were trying to complete this offseason of Malik Neighbors is going to make Daniel Jones so much better. Garrett Wilson did not make Zach Wilson so much better. So, and again, when I'm talking about how Daniel Jones doesn't have confidence, and when you're seeing other players in the locker room just generally unhappy, no matter the subject. Something needs to be done, whether it's the coach getting his ass removed or the coach removing the quarterback. But as I said, I know he's a rookie, and I know obviously he even had problems with Jaden Daniels coming back to LSU. But Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback, better talented quarterback, and the Giants made their bed with this decision. So any problems he may have, meaning Malik Neighbors, the Giants have to answer for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they'll pay the piper. They answered a little bit on in week 1, but yeah, who? So outside of Malik Neighbors on the offense side of the ball, who are we looking at that can cause some trouble? Now I've seen Jalen Hyatt. I live in Vols country almost. I've seen Jalen Hyatt. I'd like to see him be a little bit better in Big Blue and get some more opportunities. But on offense, who are you guys that we need to look for?
So I would like Theo Johnson to be a part of it, but he's not that guy I'm going to give you. If I wanted to be really that much of an arse, I'd give you Andrew Thomas because he's probably one of the best players, offensive players on this team, considering the quarterback can't get the ball to anybody. I'll give you Wan'Dale Robinson. If Daniel Jones can get him the ball in stride, which, for whatever reason is, Wan'Dale Robinson had 12 targets last week. He caught 6 passes. So you have to figure some of that's on Daniel Jones. I mean, he catches 50%. That's a 50% catch rate. That looks bad on Wandale's part, but I don't think I'm sorry, I don't think he dropped any passes. Maybe he did. But he is my guy on offense. If you're not looking at Malik Neighbors, he is my guy on offense. You got to watch out for.
Okay, I thought you would have said Graham Gano, but let me stop. I know defensively, you all going through that transition. You got Bowen there now, outside of having Wink Martindale. I still have nightmares of Kayvon Thibodeau and what he did to us in 2022. Um, it seems like he's like the he's the defensive version of Daniel Jones, but defensively, Dexter Lawrence, you guys got. Who else do we need to look for on your defense?
Yeah, definitely. And also, as far as the Graham Gano part, you don't have to worry about offending anybody because the New York Giants have turned into the New York field goals the last few years, and Graham Gano's been doing that. As far as the defense, Dex, he's a guy. I love Dex. I really didn't like what he said this week in terms of he doesn't respect the booing, because I feel like he needs to put himself in the fan shoes. But enough about that.
Mm-hmm.
I was very disappointed last week in the performance by Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. Brian Burns obviously getting paid almost $30 million a year. Thibodeau, 5th overall pick. I don't know if you knew this, Corey. I don't know if this is going to be so much as a bad look on Thibodeau or a bad look on you guys. Kayvon Thibodeau, I believe, has 15 or 16 career sacks. I think he had 4.5 in his rookie year, or 4 in his rookie year, and he had 11.5 a year ago. And 8.5 of those come against the Jets and the Commanders. And he had 3 against, I think he had 3 against the Jets last year, which would make 5.5 against the Commanders. So Kayvon having a bounce back game and Brian Burns too. I'm going to have to bet on those guys to scare you guys a little bit because no one in our secondary can scare you.
Now, I don't know if you remember this, but back in 2013, I think it was either JPP or Tuck. We played you all on Sunday Night Football in Washington, and old boy had 4 sacks in the game, and I don't think he had but like 1 or 2 coming into the game, and he had 4 sacks in a win against us on Sunday night. So I mean, to answer your question, it's yes, it's embarrassing on both sides, right? Because he did it against the Jets and us, but the fact that Thibodeau gets going against us is still embarrassing, like to us, because you know what, it like I say, he's like the defensive to me. He's like the defensive version of Daniel Jones because he'll disappear or he might have a spotlight game, but he's like burgundy gold. It's like they're like a bull to blood. They're like sharks to blood, man. Every time they see it, they're like, yeah, it's time for us to eat and be a professional football team. Like I feel like you all should invest in those like um, those contact lenses that are colored, and they just need to be burgundy. Like all you would see is burgundy the whole time, and y'all would win probably about 11 games a season. Just and Daniel Jones would be in the Pro Bowl every year, man. But um, I just don't know with the Giants. I look on my side. And I'm not gonna give away my keys because we're gonna do that on your show on Saturday. But every time I look at it, I respect the Giants because I always know there's gonna be some kind of bull crap, and we could go undefeated in some ways, and then the Giants come through and we forget how to play football. I remember in 2007, y'all started out the season 0-2, come to Washington. What happened? Y'all beat us because we act like we didn't know how to play football, and until the fourth quarter. Um, we look at the Sean Taylor game when we honor Sean Taylor. You all come in there and beat the pants off of us in the rain in '08. I mean, it just always seems like I remember LaRon Landry getting bodied by Brandon Jacobs one time, and that was like the highlight of the year, one of the highlights of the year. So, we don't take y'all lightly, and I may have said this already. Um, People are looking at us as we're the favorites. We're like a point and a hook favorite. Uh, I preference this, and I always say we should never use the word trap game when it comes to playing the New York Giants. Like we should never use that. I always feel like y'all should look at us as a trap game because just the way it comes in, it's like, hey, we should size up on these Bama's and we should beat them into a pulp and beat them into an inch of their life. So I mean, is that how y'all kind of feels like y'all come in here now and it's like we always know it doesn't matter what happens, 2 games a year, we got Washington. We always got Washington.
So coming into this year, even and trust me, my expectations have lowered because of how
Right.
bad this team is. Coming into the year, I said, look, this is what's going to happen. And I had the Giants beating Minnesota. That didn't happen. I said, Jaden Daniels and Jaden Daniels and the Commanders are going to lose that first game against the Giants.
Mhm.
But this looks like a team that will get better as the season goes on,
Mhm.
and they will beat us. And it's like week 7 or week 8 or week 9 when you come to MetLife.
Yeah.
But I was like, I mean, in the past it was always, yeah, we could sweep Washington and this, that, and the third. And there was some people coming into the season that were like, yeah, we're going to sweep Washington again. I'm like, I don't know about that because they
Mhm.
got a veteran team a little bit with a mixture of youngsters. They have some guys that have been on coaching staffs before, reputable coaching staffs. So,
Bobby
but
Johnson.
yeah, trust me, that guy, he ruined a lot of careers. I am of belief of that, but that's going to go down as one of the worst decisions that Brian Dable has ever made in terms of hiring him as the O-line coach. I mean, I don't know how he's doing for you guys. I guess you guys get to see that experiment over the next how many years. Um, but I don't think anyone else looks at Washington because of how bad this team is.
Hmm.
At least the current look in the Giants fan base, from what I've seen, is we're going to beat Washington because that's what the Giants like to do, and they're going to try to sell us on that as a 1-1 record, and then they're going to pretty much sell us the goods, and then the following week they're going to disappoint us against the Browns, and we'll be back where we are.
Gosh, man, I can't believe y'all have lost that much hope in this franchise. But um, I wow, it's just I mean I know we're rehabbing. Like I always say, I tell people all the time, we're like a cancer patient, pretty much. We've been going through just intense intense cancer for 25 years, and now we're going through the therapy. And I think that my fan base doesn't understand that 25 years of a wreck is not going to get solved in off season's time. It's going to take some time. Jaden Daniels, I thought he played okay. I gave him a D- on how he played on Sunday just because I thought he left a little bit out on the field. I thought he missed some wide receivers and he decided to run. And that was a knock on him in college. One read and he just runs first. One read and then he runs. But he's a rookie and he can grow in those situations. Um, I'm interested to see what the game plan is going to look like from King Cliff Kingsbury, against you all because there were some opportunities that Sam Darnold had, and I mean if you look at it, I mean he didn't have the best today as a quarterback, and y'all actually took the lead. It was just after a while, the offense was just the ineptitude of the offense kind of caught up with everything. And I didn't have a chance to look at the time of possession, but did they dominate in that time of possession of y'all for y'all
You'd be
or
surprised. And when I looked at the time of possession, it was 32 to 27, I believe it was. 32 and a half, 27 and a half, which is
oh my
surprising
goodness.
again. Um,
So
but I
y'all
think,
outdid it. Yeah. Oh wow.
yeah, which is again a complete surprise to me. But it's usually like in this case, time possession, you don't use it because
Mm-hmm.
it's not like a stat that correlates. But
Right.
um, to 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 I guess maybe add on to the whole like Jaden Daniels point. First of all, one of the things I hate about this defensive coordinator, relaying into the game plan and such, is that he is so not aggressive. I talked about it in the beginning about
Mm-hmm.
how him and Wink are basically two different people. We had Patrick Graham a few years ago in the 2020-2021 season. He's the guy that wanted to blitz, but basically ran the same thing as Shane Bowen because he didn't have the personnel at edge. He didn't have the personnel at corner. This guy is never known for blitzing. And it doesn't make any sense because you have the personnel at least up front to blitz, and maybe you could throw in an Isaiah Simmons. And I feel like this week you should throw in an Isaiah Simmons, whether it's an inside linebacker or as a spy because the guy has speed. But I think, if Jaden Daniels, to give him a tip, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
he's got to stay. If the rush is not totally getting there and he has at least amicable time to throw, stay in the pocket. Now he can obviously run. He does that very, very well. I think he had one or two rushing touchdowns last week. I think it was
Yeah.
like 80 yards on the
Yeah.
ground.
Too. Mm-hmm.
Um, I think one of his best things will be staying out of the pocket or rolling out of the pocket on the run because this secondary is completely inept. Thank you, Joe Shane. And the Giants lack the aggressiveness on defense to like they just sit there. Like that is literally what they do. They just sit there on defense and they let you walk up the field and they want, the painted picture about this defensive coordinator was red zone percentage.
Mm-hmm.
His red zone percentage was one of the best in the NFL. And my problem with that philosophy is you could throw red zone percentage at me till I'm blue in the face. If your offense does not sustain drives and score points on a regular basis,
Mm-hmm.
then the bend but don't break defense is a flawed concept and it takes up the time of possession. And that's how you lose football games.
Right. Yeah, I think you got a hell of a point there because um, if you get, I even remember times with Greg Williams, it was kind of like that, but he would send people, and I mean that's the one thing I thought when Wink was there, you y'all sending 8 folks at us all the time and causing chaos, and it worked. And like you said, your secondary is a little decimated now because I mean you did bring back Banks, who Banks was pissed we didn't draft him last year, and then you lost McKinney, who had an interception in week 1 against the Eagles. So I I don't know what the film study or what the corrections are going to be. And then I think a knock on Bowen too is he had Mike Vrabel there too, who Mike Vrabel is a defensive mind who can who probably kind of overshadows him, kind of like what Dan Quinn does with Joe Witt Jr. now. It's like, hey, like, yeah, you can call the plays, but if I see something, we're gonna change this up. But now he has free range because Dayball is now even double loaded with the calling of the plays. So we'll take a look at the some final predictions. I'll tell you, ask you to give me a stat line for Daniel Jones.
Um, I will, I will, I'll add some little context to
Mhm.
that whole Shane Bowen stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel in my heart that's the strategy that Dable wanted
Mhm.
as a defensive coordinator because last year I don't know if you guys knew this, and there was obviously some sort of a tension between Wink Martindale and Brian Dable, but last year when we were getting our arses beat against the Cowboys, that second time around in Dallas, Wink was sending blitzes and stuff, and Dable's like, our offense is bad. I'm going to need you to stop doing that. And that's how the tension started. So obviously, he left and he's now in Michigan,
Mhm.
but Dable doesn't, I guess whatever his philosophy is, he does not believe in an aggressive defense, which is terrible because our offense can't score points worth of anything. As far as a Daniel Jones stat line, I'm going to give you, I don't want to go too overboard because this is Daniel Jones, and he has failed my expectations from time to time. I will say he throws for 2 touchdowns. I don't think he throws a pick, and I'm going to say 1 fumble, but he recovers. And let's go with 272 passing yards.
72 passing. Okay. All right. Okay. Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors. Okay. How has your secondary looked?
You know how bad you think your secondary is? I
Oh, come on.
wish my secondary was as bad as your secondary. Like, that's how bad it is. Emmanuel Forbes, here you go. And I don't care because we can talk about this again on Saturday too.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Forbes was literally flagged for pass interference and face mask on the same damn play. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
No, it happened. I called one of my buddies, and he's a high school official, and I said, Chris, have you ever heard of that before? He said, I'll be damned, I've never heard that before. So I'm like, okay, and we've got a fellow Canadian in our secondary as well, Benjamin St. Juice, a big body corner. It was his birthday on Sunday, and he found his real daddy. His name was Mike Evans. He was just caught out of position twice. He had a 17-yard touchdown reception, and they could have flagged him for pass interference. They didn't, and then he didn't even play the ball on the second touchdown that they gave. McMillan, who's the rookie out of
Washington, right?
Washington,
Jalen McMillan, yeah.
he should have had 2 touchdowns. He should have had 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. He had our guys beat. Sammer still. He had his struggles, but he's a rookie, so he gets a little grace there. Jeremy Chin didn't show up. Quan Martin was probably our best defender in the secondary. He was more in that run support and coming up and tackling. So and when you say, I kind of chuckle when you say, well, our secondary is terrible. Our secondary, no, Alex, I want you to go back and look at the all 22 of us. Just go back, because you know what? It's gonna make you feel good when you watch it, because you're gonna be like, damn, the Giants are just terrible. No, but we're not Washington. That's what you're gonna say. That's exactly what you're gonna say. But we're not Washington. Because our secondary, my God, I mean, they was dropping baloney like it was. I swear that they were like a hobo. They were a hobo without a ham sandwich that day. Like they just could not get right, bro. They couldn't. So yeah, y'all secondary a little bit, and y'all got Isaiah Simmons, and if y'all play him right, like you said, and you bring him up and got him as a spy, he can wreak havoc. I think he had a pretty. Did he not have the pick 6 against us last year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mabel Simmons had the pick 6 against us. So I'm like, we thought he was done for in Arizona. He comes over there, and every year it's the same thing. I can't do it. But
Somebody gets right.
yeah, they're getting right, bro.
Neighbors. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go 84 yards, 8 catches,
he's gonna get a touchdown
and a touchdown. I will say he gets his first touchdown in a Giants uniform.
Will go. He's gonna get it. I just hope him and Jaden don't go to the sports book at Northwest Stadium and make some bets on there, and we're both in trouble.
I've heard of all that.
But yeah. So I mean, those are good stats. So what do the Giants need to do to win this game?
Well, they got to get home. I don't know how you guys' O-line looked last week. You can't be sitting there. Dex being the only guy that gets the passer. You got to get home. Burns has to show why he get paid almost 30 mil. Kayvon's got to show that, fifth overall pick. And he has to do what he does against Washington. I said it, 5.5 sacks in his career against Washington. So that's defensively, and that's going to help out our secondary tremendously, but they can't be complete, utter arse. I think I like Drew Phillips. Him and Tyler Nubin have been really good. I don't know who's starting it the second corner position. If it's not a Dory, it's Cordell Flott. So whenever the Giants are in zone, make sure to run some really intense routes because he can't play zone worth of anything. So just a little note out there to Cliff Kingsbury. But as far as offensively, what the Giants need to do, I think they just had we mentioned the supposed terrible secondary that the Commanders have. I'm going to go ahead and say you got Daniel Jones has to have a big day. Has to have a big day. You can't be sitting here trying to play small ball, run the ball. No, if you know you could beat Washington, if you know Daniel Jones is very good against Washington, you got to utilize the weapons. Darius Slayton, the way he kind of turns, probably not going to play this week. He's got a concussion, so I think Jalen Hyatt's going to be in there. I do think that the New York Giants are going to take some deep shots, and I think that they're going to get successful with the way you guys are describing the secondary. So take some deep shots, be efficient in passing offense, and as far as defense, you got to get home.
Yeah. Offensively, what they got to do offensively?
Well, yeah, offensively, they
Yeah,
gotta
you
they
said
gotta
you just
they gotta
said
take deep shots, vertical shots, get the ball over the middle. I wouldn't worry about the running game as much. I wouldn't even run Daniel Jones because he shot there as well. But get the ball to Neighbors, get the ball to Robinson and Jalen Hyatt.
Give me a final score.
This is going to be one of those games where Daniel Jones goes off, but it's not incredibly high of a score. Give me Giants 23 and Washington 20.
Fun. I've got 17-9 Washington in a win. Like I just feel like this is gonna be one of those games. Like it's gonna be. I don't think anything could be uglier than the game we played at y'all's place last year. But I think this game could be close to that, and just it's like just a bunch of idiots just trying to run up against each other and try to beat them. So I like us to actually win home game, new name stadium and everything like that. So give me Washington 17-9. Alex, I appreciate you, brother. Tell the folks where they can find you at and where they can find you on social media and stuff.
Yeah, so Big Blue in the Bronx on YouTube, Be Blue in the Bronx on Twitter because of you can't have that many characters. Um, Podcast twice every week. I've been releasing some videos in between and doing some streams because the Giants have been that terrible. Also do a little bit of Yankees content. Of course, we're having Corey on Saturday, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Us breaking it down kind of like we did on here, but a couple of different things. And of course, as usual, Corey, thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, Alex. And yeah, finally, Alex had got me the last couple of seasons. I was like, I need to get you on here. I need to get you on here. And I was like, you know what? I said we're gonna get you on here, and we said Tuesday, but I had a work meeting, so I appreciate you being flexible. You're also welcome for Juan Soto, care of Washington by way of San Diego. So you're welcome for that. Hopefully they can do it. Yeah, it's time for you to rewind it, brother. But Washington, the Giants, rivalry renewed Sunday at Northwest Stadium. My son's in the background. I'm Sanchez 405. For Alex from Big Blue in the Bronx, we'll talk to you next time. Love, peace, and hell. We keep that same damn energy so we outlast the bastards together. And always, somebody, please get my damn theme music.